Here we are inside of ON1 Photo Raw, and today I have absolutely no idea how I want to process this photo. Now, I did do a little bit of basic developing on this image. As you can see, I hit AI Auto, and I'm just using the standard profile, and I got AI Auto running about 58% of the way. That's all I did. I didn't really touch anything else. And so now we're going to go up to layer, filter, and I think I'm going to go with Nick Collection, and I want to go into Color Efex Pro 4. And the reason I'm choosing Color Efex is there's a lot of colors to mess around with in this image, and I really want to see what we can get out of this image. So if you've never used Color Efex before, well, today you are going to see a little bit of how that can be used in a workflow. Now, obviously it just pulled up a black and white one, and I think I am going to go over here to portrait, and I'm looking for recipes. That's what I need it to be under, not the filter library. I want to start with a recipe just because I don't want to build this from scratch. And I want to make this look a little bit like old school. So by adding the recipe, it's going to ask me if I want to add this, and I do, but in the event it says adding a recipe will replace all filters currently applied to your image. Would you like to continue? I'm going to hit yes, and I will update this to the new version later because that would not be fun for anyone to watch. And right out the bat, or right out the gate, I'm kind of liking what's happening here, but I'm not entirely confident that I am getting what I want. So let me scroll down here and see if there's some other options that I can start with. And I think I'm going to go, let's try red rocks. Yes, I do want that to change. Okay, so I am liking this one a lot more. I know that red rocks is probably one that I'm going to go with. And let's see what Super Punch is. Oh, Super Punch is kind of cool. You know, I'm going to go with Super Punch because I do want something a little edgy and contrasty at the same time. So now that I have this as my starting point, I have a few things that I probably want to edit. I definitely want my daughter's face to be a little bit more exposed, and I'm probably going to work on just the color red here, which looks really cool, and I want everything else to kind of be muted in comparison to that. So we'll see what we can do here inside of Color Efex. One of the coolest features, Bleach Bypass, which is also available inside of ON1, is being used in this preset. So let me just go ahead and uncheck that, see what happens to the image. And when you recheck it, you can see the brighter areas, they just start to pop a little bit more, and then the darker areas get a little bit darker. All right. If you look here, the shadow areas, they're kind of washed out, but when I turn this back on, they get darker and the brighter areas get brighter. Now, I think that this is okay. Now we need to move on to the next one, which is going to be the contrast only. And I think maybe there's too much contrast because, again, this is a portrait, and we want to make sure that our portraits, they stay as lively and as good as we can keep them, right? So we'll just leave that be without the contrast only. So let me just go ahead and I guess I can't close that. And then we'll go into Pro Contrast. Now, I think this is probably going to be okay. The Pro Contrast, yeah, I think that is just fine. So now it's time for us to add another filter. And this time I want to add an exposure filter. So let's see here. We don't want contrast. We don't want mid-light or low-key. I don't know if I want any of those. So let's come over here to all. And I feel like there should be just like a basic exposure. Don't want cross balance. Maybe I don't have access to basic exposure controls. Okay, no worries. Then we will go with something else that probably will have that. And you know what? Levels and curves. There we go. This might work out for us because I'm going to add this as a control pointed item so we can get the effect that we're going for. So my job here is I just want to boost this, and as you can see, it's doing a really good job at opening up the shadows in my daughter's face. Let's see what happens if I boost the shadows. No. All right. So maybe about there, and I could probably pull this back just a little bit more. All right. So now it's time to control point this because I don't want this over the entire image. So what I'm going to do is come down here, go to opacity, and pull that all the way down. And then I'm going to add a control point, and I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to check this little icon so I can see what I'm actually affecting here. So as I click and drag, you see that it's going further away. And I don't want it to go too much further than where she, like in her face, right? I just want this to impact this area just like it is right now. And it doesn't even have to be at 100% opacity because I don't think that it's necessary. So if I turn off the control point and turn it back on, you can see it just brightens up that area in a very natural way. And that's what I'm going for this image overall. So now I'm going to hit add filter, and I'm going to add in another levels and curves. This time I want to darken everything. And I'm just looking at the background, everything that's not my daughter. All right. And I think that will look pretty good. Come about there too. So now we're going to repeat the process. I'm going to bring down the opacity so that way I can add my control point. I'm going to click once there, and you see how that just added in a darker control point. It darkened the area, and I'm going to click and drag, pull that over. And then if I hold down Option, I should be able to click, drag, and I'm going to throw another one of these right up here. But this time I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And then I'm going to drag from this one again to darken this area down here. And then I'm going to drag again from this one because it just has the size, makes it a little bit easier. And we'll go there. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller and even pull it away from her. And we'll make it actually a little bit larger. So that way it's impacting more of that area. Let's take a look. Yeah, that looks okay. So this is pretty much impacting everything except for my daughter, which is what I was going for. And then I'm even going to go behind her with one. So let me grab one of these smaller ones. And we'll shrink that down just so, you know, we're really separating. I guess I got to get down here too. And I'll come right there. So now what I'm going to do is really drive this home by making this darker overall. And you see how it's just pulling down everything. It's like I'm turning off the lights almost. And I like the way that this is working. So I'll leave that like so. And if I were to turn it off and turn it back on, you can see it is having a slight impact on my daughter. But everything that's white is what's being impacted, so it's only a little bit on her. Maybe I'm not getting as much on everything else, but it's okay because I think it looks natural the way that the effect is being applied. So I am going to go ahead and run with that, and we'll do some cleanup work inside of ON1 because I'm a little bit more familiar with that. So we'll hit OK, and we'll let this save back into ON1 because this gives me the base of what I really want to work from. And now we have the edited image inside of ON1. So I can do a little bit of cleanup. I don't really care for this whistle and the cleat that's over here. I want to put more of the emphasis on my daughter. So I have a few different options. I can come to Retouch. I can use the magic eraser, just click once, and that should clean up pretty good. It's not a very complex area, so, and of course it didn't clean up very well. So what I'm going to do is make this disappear by using the, oh man, why did I have a brain fart on what this is? Healing brush. I'm going to use the healing brush. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this cleat down here because I don't want this cleat. So just make a selection over that cleat. It's going to pick some grass, and I think that's fine. No one, I mean, you wouldn't even know that that happened. In fact, I think I'm going to get rid of this leg as well and really just clean up this image. So we'll come over here using the perfect eraser. And that's not going to do a perfect job right away. I already know that. However, what I'm going to be able to do with the healing brush is come back over, and actually that did a pretty decent job. I'm not actually mad at the way that that worked. I'm not sure what's going on with this residual amount that's sitting here. I thought I got rid of everything, or I thought I would get rid of everything, but for whatever reason, did not want to. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of it using the healing brush, just like so. And look at that. That's actually pretty good. And then I'll actually use the retouch brush, and I'll just retouch over this area, which did not do a very good job. It's almost as if it didn't want to retouch the area in which I healed. So let's click here and see, can we extend the feather after the fact? Yes, we can. So we'll extend the feather, and that actually worked out much, much better. Okay, so now we have a cleaned up version of the image. And the last thing that I'm going to do to this image, because I don't feel like my daughter is popping off the image as well as I would care for her to, I'm going to duplicate this image one more time, and I am going to isolate her from the background. And I guess I could demonstrate you don't really need to duplicate the image now that I think about it. Instead, I'm just going to go to effects on a lower copy of the image. Let me just delete that layer. So that way you can see that you don't need to duplicate the image. And I'm going to go to exposure or tone enhancer. I keep wanting to say exposure, but that's not what I actually need. So I'm going to click there, and then I am going to go to the AI quick mask. Now, I just used my Stream Deck to get me there a little bit faster, but you can click on the mask and then come up here to AI quick mask, and you can hit the letter W on your keyboard. But what I'm going to do is make a selection of everything that I want to be dark by painting it away from this effect. All right. And it doesn't have to be the most perfect. And there's a lot of different ways that you can make selections. This is just my favorite method for something like this, using the AI quick mask. It really does allow you to get the edit that I would like to get a lot faster, which is why it's called quick mask, right? And it's AI driven, so I don't have to do a whole lot of thinking other than refining the mask when everything is all said and done. So we will call that good, and then I'm going to hit apply and see what ON1 does with creating the mask. So it looks like it missed a little bit of her hair. It missed her cleat down here. So I'll just move that up and I'll see if we can grab the hair that we're missing. And I'm okay if it's missing that one little piece that's way out there. So now it's picking up more than we need down here. So I'm just going to try and refine it one more time in this pass. And if it doesn't do it well here, then we will clean it up with the actual refining tools. So we'll hit apply. And that did an okay job. What I'm not a fan of is what it did with her leg there. And that'll be the last time. Don't want to make this tutorial too long. And I don't even know if this is actually counting as a tutorial. All right, so now that I have her selected, I can just increase the exposure on her, but I don't really care to do that. I like the way that she's exposed. I just don't want the rest, so I'm just going to hit invert. That means I now have everything else in the background selected. I'm just going to pull down the exposure on everything else and pull down the contrast so that she pops on the background. And I can even kind of lower down. It's like dimming the lights in the background, right? But you keep the attention where you want it in a way that is probably pretty good. But I don't want to completely make the opposing athlete disappear and unlegible, right? So there you go. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we started with, which is this image here. This is the base image that came into ON1 Photo Raw, and then we went into, we'll go ahead and turn that off for a second, and then just excuse the mess over here on the left hand side. You know that we cleaned that up. But then we went into Color Efex Pro, made some edits there, and this is what we came out of Color Efex Pro with. And then I went ahead and did some cleanup work and made the photo a lot more presentable, in my opinion. And I think it captures the day well. There's a lot of things that I could do here. If I wanted to, I can even add in a sun flare. And the sun flare, you know, I would probably drive this down just a little bit, but it gives a little bit of attention to the image. I can even improve the sunshine by throwing a little bit of sunshine in there and warming it up. And that even adds a little bit of something to the image. Here's what it looks like without the sun flare and sunshine. Here's what it looks like with. It's just warmer. And, you know, I think I'll leave it in there. That's just kind of my workflow of how I go through editing images. So if you found value in today's video, go ahead and smash the like button. If you are new around here, consider subscribing. My name is Chris. I create content centered around ON1 Photo Raw for new users and intermediate users or even advanced users. So if that's something you're interested in, then you'll definitely want to hit that subscribe button, check the bell icon so you get notified whenever I drop new content. You can also check me out at freewillphotos.com, where you can sign up for a newsletter, and you can also join the community completely for free and get downloads for On1 Photo Raw. So until next time, I want you guys to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.